everyone. It is my real pleasure to welcome Professor Michael Greenberg from Harvard Medical School to Briggs People in Science series. Dr. Greenberg is currently professor at Harvard Medical School, Department of Neurobiology. Please welcome Professor Michael Greenberg. Hi, Mike. Good morning.
Hi, TK. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi to the audience as well. Well, I guess it's a bit of a circuitous path. I was interested in chemistry and biology in high school, but not really more than any other subject. But in the later years of high school, I had the opportunity to work in a research laboratory, a cancer research laboratory, and that had a profound effect on me. The ability to solve puzzles and think about something that nobody had thought about before, the discovery, the process of discovery, the thrill of it really captured my attention. And I would say that in terms of neuroscience, it was really gradual. The eureka moment was when I did the first experiment, and in those days it involved radioactivity, and
Right.
your experiments were finished when you'd run a gel or a blot, and then you'd put a film over it, and you'd have to then expose the film, and you'd have the film after exposure, you'd develop it in what's called an exomat, so it would come out of the exomat. And I remember my heart beating fast when I was waiting for the result, and that's when I first discovered FOSS. Now, it turns out that my advisor at Ziff, he was in Bermuda at the time, consulting. So I called him on the phone to tell him about the result, and he was pretty excited too. And later, he was holding the film up that showed the induction of FOSS, and he said, "You know, this is going to be worth a lot of money."
Yeah.
And it was. It's funded my lab for almost 40 years. So I think the thing about FOSS that attracted scientists the most was the use of it as a marker of neuronal activity in the brain. Now, of course, it does much more than that. I mean, when it gets activated, it's turning on programs, and the program is distinct in each type of neuron. It has been giving us, I think, great insight into how long-term memory is stored. Well, you know, in research, as you advance, you often head a laboratory with, and I've been fortunate to attract many wonderful scientists to the lab, including you, TK. And you made a brilliant discovery when you were with me. But, you know, when you're running a lab, it's the people in your lab that make the discoveries. So that's great, and you're a cheerleader in a sense, and you can influence it. But the discoveries that you make yourself are the ones that have the biggest impact on you, I think. And so I have to go back to the activation of FOSS, first in fibroblasts and then in neurons as the pivotal discovery for me and the most meaningful. It really shaped my career. Everything that's come after stems from that. Now, of course, there have been other exciting developments in the lab, and I'm most excited about the things that are happening now. So I think people can have struggles in their personal life and also in their work life. For any researcher, especially in the early days, when you're a graduate student, there's a lot of failure. And in my own case, I had been focusing on chemistry in undergraduate. When I got to graduate school and I was trying to become a biologist, I was really behind, and there was a lot I didn't know. And I felt very inadequate for that reason. But I started doing experiments, and mostly they didn't work. I hadn't learned to focus well enough, and my ability in the lab wasn't so good. And I think that's normal. You often learn more when it doesn't work out. And I think the important thing is to learn from the mistakes, learn from experiments not turning out the way you hope, to see what's there and to use it to your advantage. So when things don't work well, and they didn't a lot for me, I think the important thing is to get back up and I allow myself to be feeling down about it for a day, but then the next day I have to get back up and start going again. And I think that sort of perseverance and resilience were important. So what I say to students is, if you fall off the horse, you got to get right back on and start riding. And the other thing I'd say is that research it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so you have to be patient and you have to be perseverant and not let, not take things not working personally. Use it to your advantage. To join my laboratory, you're talking about a postdoctoral fellow, essentially, because a graduate student has to get into the graduate program at Harvard, and then they do rotations, and depending on how they fit into the lab, we make a decision to accept. But generally, for graduate students, if they've been industrious during their rotation, I usually say yes, because it's in graduate school you're learning, you don't have the finished product yet. But for a postdoc, there needs to be a record of accomplishment during graduate school. And since my lab has been competitive to get into, I'm sort of demanding of a strong record of accomplishment. But there are other things I look for too. I look for someone who's passionate about research. I look for someone who is creative. I look for someone who is willing to work hard. And then finally, someone who's able to get along well with others in the lab, because to some extent, research is a team sport. And I really like to have a harmonious lab. So I look for someone who's a genuinely good person and will fit in well. So the first thing I would say is it's too bad, because a life in science filled with scientific discovery is really thrilling. And in terms of your job, you're going to spend at least a third of your life sleeping and a third of your life working. And so it's great to have a job that is really exciting and thrilling, and research is like that. So I think, though, having opportunities for young people to engage in exciting research, in great research laboratories, and investing in that, I think is important. The other thing is to support science financially more, so it doesn't seem like a career where you're going to forever be struggling to get funding for a laboratory. So more support, both at the of young people interested in it and giving them opportunities, with an effort to attract them to science, and also to fund science well. Now, when I was young in the United States, it was what's referred to as the Sputnik era, where there was a desire to beat the Soviet Union to the moon. So there was a lot of investment in science then, and a career in science was thought to be almost a glorious thing, something that would be not just worthwhile, but would really bring excitement to your life. And it turned out to be that way. For me, it's been 50 years that I've been doing this, and the thrill of discovery is still there. And it's not many professions you could say that after so much time you still really love going to work. Well, so this is a message for scientists, I think. Well, think big, go after important questions, and keep at it.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you very much for your time and for sharing your insights and the perspectives to the young scientists in Korea. And we really appreciate it. And thanks for being with us today.
It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you, Mike.